It is said that magic is a river, flowing through the very veins of the world. It is the force that binds the stars, that whispers in the rustling of leaves, that sparks in the flash of a lightning strike. But a river, no matter how powerful, needs a channel. For witches and wizards, that channel has, for centuries, been the wand. A simple object, often no more than a foot of wood, with a sliver of a magical creature at its heart. And yet, within that simple construction lies the potential for miracles and for devastation. It is an amplifier, a focus, a partner in the great dance of spellcasting. But it is not merely a tool, it is a choice. The wand, they say, chooses the wizard, but it is the wizard who chooses what to do with that power. This is the story of that choice. It is a story of wood, of will, and of the spells that have shaped history. A history written not in ink, but in light and shadow. A tale of the profound and often terrifying relationship between a wizard and their wand. We begin our journey not in the hallowed halls of a ministry or the dusty archives of a library, but in the margins of a school textbook. Here, a brilliant, tormented young mind laid bare his soul, not in diary entries, but in spellcraft. These were not the standard charms and jinxes of a Hogwarts education. They were inventions born of pain, of fear, and of a desperate need for control. He called himself the Half-Blood Prince. The world would come to know him as Severus Snape, and his legacy includes some of the most insidious and elegant curses ever devised. Consider the curse known as Sectumsempra, a blade without a hilt, a curse without remorse. It is, without question, Severus Snape's most infamous creation, a dark incantation designed not merely to wound, but to mutilate, to tear, to exsanguinate. Its very name is a chilling fusion of Latin roots, sectum, meaning to cut or sever, and semper, meaning always. In essence, the always cutting curse. The name itself promises a relentless assault. Upon casting, the spell manifests as an invisible sword, an ethereal blade that lashes deep into its victim with unseen slashes. It does not need to see its target, only to be aimed by a will filled with malice. It bypasses physical armor, a cutting hex so potent that it slices through cloth, leather, and even some magical shielding, as if they were nothing more than air. It ignores human hesitation, the silent, instinctual flinch that might otherwise lessen a blow. The result is catastrophic. The victim suffers deep, gushing lacerations that appear from nowhere. The blood loss is immediate and profuse, leading to a rapid drop in blood pressure, shock, and, if left untreated, certain death. To an untrained observer, it appears as though the victim has been mauled by an invisible beast, a phantom predator with claws of sharpened air. This was the curse that Snape, in his lonely and bullied youth, inscribed into the margins of his personal copy of Advanced Potion Making, a dark secret hidden beneath the anonymous moniker of the Half-Blood Prince. Though it was never taught at Hogwarts, and certainly never sanctioned, the spell found its way into dangerous hands. Most notably, a young Harry Potter, who, finding the prince's old textbook, used it unknowingly against Draco Malfoy in a moment of panic and fury. The encounter, taking place in a brightly lit bathroom, turned the white-tiled room into a scene of carnage. Malfoy collapsed, his life bleeding out onto the floor, saved only by Snape's timely and expert intervention. That moment revealed the true horror of the curse. It is not a duelist's spell, meant to disarm or incapacitate. It is a killer's spell. But Sectumsempra is more than just a weapon. It is a manifestation of defensive darkness, a calculated curse designed not for the bravado of a schoolyard duel, but for brutal survival. Given Snape's tormented school years, where he was a constant target for the marauders James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew, it is highly probable that Sectumsempra was forged not in ambition, but in fear. It was the ultimate deterrent, a promise of such horrific retaliation that none would dare attack him. The spell is not classified as one of the three unforgivable curses: the killing curse, the cruciatus curse, and the imperious curse. Yet its brutality arguably rivals them. The killing curse is instantaneous. The cruciatus inflicts pain, but Sectumsempra offers a slow, agonizing death, a mutilation of the flesh that leaves both physical and psychological scars. That distinction, that legal loophole, makes it all the more dangerous. It is dark magic, but not technically unforgivable. Because of its uncontrollable violence and the gruesome aftermath, Sectumsempra is rarely cast in battle, even by dark wizards. When it is used, it is a last resort, a spell of finality. It cuts deeper than the body. It cuts into intent, revealing the caster's willingness to inflict profound and lasting harm. And it is this intent that fuels its power. A half-hearted cast might result in a minor cut. A truly venomous will, however, can tear a person to pieces. Not all creators of dark magic provide a cure. Many revel in the permanence of their work, but Severus Snape, in a profound act of foresight, and perhaps a flicker of conscience, did. The counter-curse is known as Vulnera Sanentur. It is the only known remedy for the wounds inflicted by Sectumsempra, a healing incantation so advanced it borders on magical surgery. Where common healing charms like episci close minor surface wounds, a split lip, a broken nose, Vulnera Sanentur reaches far deeper into the body's trauma. It reverses hemorrhaging, reknits torn flesh, and can halt death in its slow, cold progress. Its name, like its predecessor, is pure Latin, but this time it is a plea, not a command. Vulnera, meaning wounds, and sanentur, meaning may they be healed. The phrase itself is poetic, a gentle supplication to the magic of restoration, and the casting must be just as poetic. The spell is not barked in urgency or desperation. It must be murmured in a steady, song-like cadence, repeated 3 times like a sacred ritual. The first utterance slows the torrential bleeding, a magical tourniquet applied to every single wound at once. The second begins the miraculous process of closure, drawing the ravaged edges of flesh back towards each other. The third and final recitation fully seals the skin, leaving the victim pale and weak, but whole once more. However, the magic often does not work alone. For wounds as severe as those from Sectumsempra, the rare restorative herb dittany is frequently needed as a supplemental treatment. A few drops of its essence, applied after the curse is lifted, can stimulate new tissue growth and prevent the deep, disfiguring scars that would otherwise remain as a permanent reminder of the attack. Without dittany, Vulnera Sanentur may halt death, but it cannot always restore wholeness. We see the spell in its purest, most powerful form when Snape himself heals Draco Malfoy. The moment is silent, solemn. Under the precise, controlled movements of Snape's wand, the horrifying flow of blood eases, slows, and stops. The deep lacerations close, as if time itself is being rewound. And his voice is described as song-like, almost gentle, a stark, shocking contrast to the violent curse he himself authored. There is a quiet, complex morality hidden in this spell's very existence. Snape did not have to create it. He could have left Sectumsempra as an irreversible mark of his vengeance, a wound for which there was no return. Instead, he wrote a cure. He crafted the antidote alongside the poison. And that singular act of balance, of providing a path back from the darkness he unleashed, perhaps says more about the man, Severus Snape, than any duel or dark allegiance ever could. From the brutal to the bewildering, we turn to another of the prince's inventions, a spell not of destruction, but of humiliation, Levicorpus. When cast, the target is violently yanked into the air by their ankle, left suspended upside down as though an invisible hook has snagged them in the sky. Their clothes fall, their pockets empty, and their dignity vanishes in an instant. It is theatrical, sudden, and utterly inescapable for the unprepared, a curse designed purely for spectacle. The name itself is blunt, almost clinical, from the Latin levare, to lift, and corpus, body. It translates, with stark simplicity, to lift the body. But its true meaning runs deeper in the context of schoolyard warfare. For Severus Snape, it was intended as a silent weapon. His notes in the margin specified that it should be cast non-verbally, making it a quick, quiet, and profoundly degrading surprise attack. This spell became a running joke, a fad, among the students during Snape's time at Hogwarts. According to Remus Lupin, Levicorpus gained a rapid and mischievous popularity, used so frequently in the corridors between classes that, in his words, you couldn't move for being hoisted into the air. What few of those students realized was that the spell's inventor, the half-blood prince himself, was walking those same corridors, watching them use his creation. It is likely that Snape created Levicorpus with one specific target in mind: James Potter. The marauders mocked and hexed him constantly, their attacks often loud and flashy. Levicorpus offered a different form of retaliation, subtle, silent, and embarrassing. Ironically, and perhaps tragically for Snape, James would later learn the spell and use it on him in a very public and cruel fashion, turning Snape's own magic into a tool for his own ridicule. It was a moment that would forever shape Snape's hatred for Potter, and by extension, his son. And yet, the spell survived its creator's bitterness. Years later, Harry Potter learned it from that same annotated textbook. He used it in duels, both mock and real, and in moments of mischief. It had become, in a strange way, a part of Hogwarts culture, a piece of magical graffiti left on the castle walls. It is proof that even petty magic, born from teenage angst, can leave a lasting legacy. There is no lasting physical harm caused by Levicorpus, but its damage is psychological. It inverts the victim's world, strips them of their control, and makes them a public exhibit. Not painful, but profoundly exposing. A perfect spell for someone who spent their formative years being laughed at. What Levicorpus begins, Libericorpus ends. This is the release spell, the silent reversal designed to return the suspended body to the ground, often without warning or grace. The etymology is again simple and direct Latin, liberare, meaning to free, and corpus, meaning body. Together, free the body. Like its counterpart, Libericorpus was crafted by Severus Snape during his school years, and was intended to function non-verbally. A simple, silent flick of the wand is all that is required. The pairing of these two incantations reveals something crucial about Snape's approach to spellcraft. His magic was not only meant to afflict, but also to undo. For every action, a reaction. For every lock, a key. For every lash, a latch. For every humiliation, an exit. This duality is a recurring theme in his inventions. We see this spell used most notably when James Potter, after publicly humiliating Snape with Levicorpus, is forced by Lily Evans's horrified reaction to lower him. He does so reluctantly, and Snape falls to the ground in a heap. The moment is a bitter one, but it demonstrates the spell's primary function: a quick, unceremonious end to the jinx. Libericorpus is rarely taught, rarely referenced, and rarely understood outside of its original context. It is the forgotten second act to a much more famous play. From the overt to the covert, we now examine a charm designed not for confrontation, but for conspiracy. Muffliato. Silence, it is said, is power. Muffliato is how you keep it. This ingenious charm fills the ears of everyone in the immediate vicinity with a soft, indistinct buzzing. The sound is often compared to the faint hum of static, the drone of distant flies, or a gentle ringing. It is not painful, not suspicious, just enough to completely mask a private conversation. The mechanics of the charm are subtle but deliberate. Unlike a full silencing charm, which prevents sound from ever leaving the speaker's lips, The Muffliato charm targets the listener. It does not mute the room. It clogs the air between the speaker and any potential eavesdroppers. Conversations can thus be held in plain sight, in a crowded common room or a busy library, and no one just a few feet away will hear a single intelligible word. They will see mouths moving, but the sound that reaches them is nothing but that gentle, ignorable buzz. The name comes from the same linguistic root as the English word muffle, to dampen or deaden a sound. The invented suffix iato lends it a pseudo-Italian finish, a touch of flair, as if disguising its true, slightly illicit intent behind a veil of civility. Snape designed this charm for one purpose: secrecy. It is less of an attack and more of a strategic advantage. For a student like himself, constantly under the scrutiny of his rivals and likely conducting unauthorized potion experiments, holding private discussions, or practicing covert spellcraft, the Muffliato charm was an essential tool. Decades later, it was passed unknowingly to Harry Potter and his friends. He and Hermione Granger, in particular, used it often during their tumultuous 6th and 7th years. They used it to whisper tactics in the Gryffindor common room, to scheme undetected in the school library, and later, to speak the name of Lord Voldemort, a name that had become taboo and magically traceable without fear of detection. In a school where walls sometimes seemed to have ears, and ghosts could float uninvited through any conversation, Muffliato became one of the most useful defensive tools in their arsenal. And yet, like Snape's other creations, it was never part of the official Hogwarts curriculum. That's because the Muffliato charm violates a sacred, unspoken boundary in wizarding education: the right to listen, and by extension, the teacher's ability to police their students' conversations. Some silences are gentle, others are forced. Langlock is a jinx of immediate, invasive consequence. It binds the target's tongue to the roof of their mouth, rendering them utterly unable to speak. No words, no articulate sounds, and most importantly, no incantations can be formed. The result is mute panic. Its linguistic construction is simple but sharp. Lang, likely from language or the Latin lingua, for tongue, and lock, meaning exactly that. It locks your voice inside your own mouth. Snape designed Langlock with ruthless utility in mind. It is a restraint tool, effective in both a simple verbal argument and a deadly magical duel. In a world where so much of spellcasting depends on precise, spoken incantations, this charm disarms without disarming. The wand may stay in the wizard's hand, but it becomes for a moment a useless stick. It is a more targeted and less disruptive alternative to a full body-bind curse. Crucially, the jinx works on both the living and the spectral. When Harry Potter later discovers it in Snape's annotated textbook, he uses it, in a moment of inspiration, on Peeves the poltergeist. Peeves, the school's most uncontainable force of chaos and noise, was rendered completely silent. The result was eerie. The poltergeist flailing in the air, furious and frustrated, but unable to make a single jeer or raspberry. A walking noise machine, for the first time in centuries, was reduced to silence. Harry also casts it on the cantankerous caretaker, Argus Filch, in moments of mischief, effectively ending his tirades before they can begin. But even when used playfully, Langlock carries a certain weight. It turns the fundamental act of speech into a vulnerability. It is a spell that speaks volumes by removing speech altogether, a perfect tool for a wizard who preferred to control the conversation. And finally, we come to the most bizarre of the Half-Blood Prince's known inventions. Every curse has its crown. This one wears a sock. Unlike Snape's other creations, which skew towards silence, secrecy, or outright savagery, the Toenail-Growing Hex is pure, unadulterated magical mischief. As its name so vividly suggests, it causes the target's toenails to grow at an absurdly accelerated rate. The spell has no known incantation recorded in canon, but its effects are unmistakable and immediate. The victim's toenails begin to curl and lengthen, growing with such speed that they can be seen shredding through shoes and socks within seconds, forcing the victim to stumble in bewilderment. When Harry used this hex on Vincent Crabbe in his 6th year, the textbook noted that the charm produced very entertaining results. It was a rare bit of levity in an otherwise darkening world, a glimpse into the less grim and more prankish side of the Half-Blood Prince. But its absurdity is precisely the point. Snape didn't invent this hex to harm or to control. He invented it to mock, to embarrass, to catch his enemies completely off guard with sheer ridiculousness. In a school populated by bullies and braggarts, there is something deeply Slytherin about a hex that turns a moment of intimidation into one of profound discomfort and absurdity. Imagine delivering a menacing threat, only to have your own toenails spiral out of your boots like grotesque, keratinous horns. And yet, like all of Snape's spells, it is cleanly and cleverly designed. There is no lasting harm, no permanent mark, just chaos, theatrically timed. It reveals that even the darkest of minds can possess a keenly developed, if somewhat twisted, sense of humor. These spells, from the deadly to the daft, paint a portrait of their creator, a wizard of immense talent, profound pain, and meticulous design. From the spells that are cast, we now turn to the instrument that casts them, the wand. To understand the wand is to understand the very nature of magic itself. And at the center of every wand, there is a core, the heart of the wand, a substance of potent magical power, willingly given or skillfully taken from a magical creature. The core is the source of the wand's unique character, its temperament, its soul. The celebrated wandmaker, Garrick Ollivander, built his formidable reputation on a revolutionary principle, that the finest wands should have a single superior quality core running through their entire length. While lesser wandmakers might use multiple, less powerful substances or even resort to charms to simulate a core, Ollivander adhered to what he called the supreme cores. These are the 3 substances he found to produce the most consistent and powerful magic: unicorn hair, dragon heartstring, and phoenix feather. Let us first consider the unicorn hair. The unicorn is a creature of immense purity and grace, its magic as untainted as the silver blood that runs in its veins. A wand with a unicorn hair core is known for producing the most consistent, reliable magic. It is less prone to fluctuations or blockages, providing a steady and faithful stream of power. These wands are the most difficult to turn to the dark arts. Their inherent purity acts as a sort of magical conscience, resisting spells born of malice or cruelty. A wizard attempting to cast a particularly dark curse with a unicorn hair wand might find the spell fizzling out, or even backfiring. The hair itself can die if it is severely mistreated, meaning the wand will cease to function and must have its core replaced. Unicorn hair wands are known for their fierce loyalty to their first owner. They bond deeply and are notoriously difficult to win the allegiance of if they are taken by force or inherited. This makes them ideal for a witch or wizard who is gentle of spirit, pure of heart, and not prone to the darker temptations of the magical world. We see this in the wands of characters like Cedric Diggory, whose wand was 12¼ inches, ash, with a single hair from a particularly fine male unicorn. His character, honorable, fair, and kind, was a perfect match for the steadfast nature of his wand. Similarly, the first wand of Neville Longbottom, which was later broken, was inherited from his father, and its core was unknown. But his second wand, 13 inches, Cherry, with a unicorn hair core, served him much more faithfully, reflecting his own growth into a loyal and courageous wizard. Next, we have the dragon heartstring. If the unicorn represents purity, the dragon represents raw, untamed power. Wands with a dragon heartstring core are, without exception, the most powerful and capable of producing the most flamboyant and spectacular spells. They learn more quickly than any other wand type. Once they have mastered a spell, they perform it with a flair and intensity that other wands struggle to match. This makes them particularly well suited for transfiguration and potent charms. However, this power comes with a price. Dragon heartstring wands are the most temperamental of the three supreme cores. They can be prone to accidents, their magic sometimes surging with unexpected force. They are also the easiest to turn to the dark arts. Unlike the unicorn hair, the dragon heartstring has no innate aversion to dark magic. It is a vessel of pure power, and it will serve the will of its master, for good or for ill. Furthermore, these wands, while they can form strong bonds with their owners, are not as fiercely loyal as their unicorn counterparts. They can be won from their original master in a duel, and once won, will transfer their allegiance fully and without reservation to the new victor. This quality makes them attractive to ambitious, powerful wizards who seek to dominate and conquer. Many of the most formidable witches and wizards in history have wielded dragon heartstring wands. Hermione Granger's wand, 10 3/4 inches, vinewood, with a dragon heartstring core, was a perfect match for her brilliant, ambitious mind and her talent for casting powerful, complex spells. Bellatrix Lestrange, a witch consumed by dark passions and a lust for power, wielded a 12 3/4 inch walnut wand with a dragon heartstring core. The wand was as cruel and unpredictable as she was. And Garrick Ollivander himself used a 12 3/4 inch hornbeam wand with a dragon heartstring core, a testament to the core's ability to serve a wizard of great skill and complexity. Finally, we come to the rarest and most enigmatic of the supreme cores, the phoenix feather. The phoenix is a creature of immense magical power, a symbol of death and rebirth, whose tears have healing properties. A wand with a phoenix feather core is capable of the greatest range of magic, though it may take longer than either unicorn or dragon core wands to reveal this. They act of their own accord more than any other core type, a quality that many witches and wizards dislike. They are selective, discriminating, and fiercely independent. The phoenix feather wand is the hardest to tame and to personalize, and its allegiance is always hard-won. It will often take the initiative, acting on its own volition in moments of great need, a trait that can be both a blessing and a curse. These wands are the most difficult to choose a master for. The phoenix itself is one of the most independent and detached creatures in the world, and the wands that contain its feathers reflect this. They are often drawn to witches and wizards, who are themselves independent, who have a strong sense of purpose, and who may be destined for great things, whether they seek that destiny or not. The most famous examples of phoenix feather wands are, of course, the twin wands of Harry Potter and Lord Voldemort. Both wands were 11 inches long, Harry's made of holly and Voldemort's of yew, and both contained a single tail feather from the same phoenix, a bird named Fawkes who belonged to Albus Dumbledore. This shared core created a profound and unique connection between the two wizards. It was the reason for the priori incantatem effect that occurred when their wands met in battle, forcing one wand to regurgitate the spells it had recently performed. This connection, this brotherhood of their wands, was a pivotal element in their long and bloody conflict. It speaks to the mysterious, almost sentient nature of phoenix feather wands, that they could create a bond between two such diametrically opposed souls. While Ollivander favored these three cores, they are by no means the only ones used in wand-making across the world. Other cultures and other wand-makers have utilized a vast array of magical substances. In North America, the great wand-maker Shekoba Wolf was known for using the tail feather of the thunderbird, a magical bird closely related to the phoenix. Wands with a thunderbird tail feather core are said to be powerful, yet difficult to master. They are particularly good at transfiguration and are known to be able to sense danger, sometimes casting protective spells preemptively. Another American wandmaker, Isolde Sayre, one of the founders of the Ilvermorny school of witchcraft and wizardry, famously used horned serpent horn in the wands she created for her adopted sons. Wands with this core were exceptionally powerful and were sensitive to parseltongue, vibrating when the language was spoken nearby. They were also known to warn their owners of danger by emitting a low musical note. In other parts of the world, substances like veela hair have been used. The wand of Fleur Delacour, for instance, contained a single hair from the head of her veela grandmother. Wands with veela hair cores are known to be extremely temperamental and artistic. They are powerful, but their performance can be inconsistent, reflecting the volatile and passionate nature of the veela themselves. Garrick Ollivander, for his part, refused to work with veela hair, believing it made for wands that were too unpredictable for his taste. Other rare cores include thestral tail hair, a potent but tricky substance that can only be handled by a wizard who has accepted death. It is believed that the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand in existence, has a thestral tail hair core, which would account for its formidable and often grim reputation. There is also troll whisker, which makes for weaker, less reliable wands, and kelpie hair, which is said to be a decent but not exceptional core material. The choice of the core is the first and most fundamental step in defining a wand's destiny. It is the spark of life that ignites the wood, creating not just a tool, but a true magical companion. If the core is the heart of the wand, then the wood is its body, its soul. The type of wood used in a wand's construction imparts its own distinct properties, its own personality, its own philosophy of magic. The ancient art of dendrology, the study of trees, is of paramount importance to a wandmaker. Each tree has a history, a spirit, and its wood carries that spirit into the magic it helps to create. Garrick Ollivander often said that the combination of wood and core was what made each wand unique, but he also believed that the wood itself had a character that sought a compatible partner. Let us explore some of the most significant wand woods and their whispers. Acacia, for example, is a very unusual wand wood. It often refuses to produce magic for any but its owner, and is known to withhold its best effects from all but the most gifted. This makes them tricky to place, as they are highly selective. An acacia wand, when well matched, can be incredibly powerful, but it is not suited for what is commonly known as bangs and smells magic. It performs best in subtle, precise spellcasting. Alder wood is another interesting case. While the wood itself is unyielding, its ideal owner is not stubborn or obstinate, but helpful, considerate, and most likable. While most wand woods seek similarity in the character of their owners, alder is unusual in that it seems to desire a nature that is, if not precisely opposite, then certainly of a markedly different type. An alder wand is a wonderful, loyal helpmate, particularly well suited for non-verbal spellwork. Applewood wands are not made in great numbers. They are powerful and best suited to an owner of high aims and ideals, as this wood mixes poorly with the dark arts. It is said that the possessor of an apple wand will be well loved and long-lived, and it has been noted that owners of apple wands often have a great personal charm and an ability to converse with other magical beings in their native tongues. Ash is a wood that cleaves to its one true master and ought not to be passed on or gifted from the original owner, because it will lose power and skill. This tendency is extreme if the core is of unicorn hair. Wands of ash are for witches and wizards who are not lightly swayed from their beliefs or purposes. They are courageous, but not arrogant or overbearing. The ideal owner of an ash wand may be stubborn, but they are never coarse or insensitive. Aspen wood is white and fine-grained, and highly prized by all wandmakers for its stylish resemblance to ivory and its usually outstanding charm work. The proper owner of the aspen wand is often an accomplished duelist, or destined to be one, for the aspen wand is one of those particularly suited to martial magic. An infamous and secret 18th century dueling club, which called itself the Silver Spears, was reputed to admit only those who owned aspen wands. In my experience, aspen wand owners are generally strong-minded and determined, more likely than most to be drawn to quests and new orders. This is a wand for revolutionaries. Beech, in its natural state, is a beautifully fine and pale wood. The true match for a beech wand will be, if young, wise beyond his or her years, and if full-grown, rich in understanding and experience. Beech wands perform very weakly for the narrow-minded and intolerant. Such wizards and witches, having obtained a beech wand without having been suitably matched, have often presented themselves at the homes of learned wandmakers such as myself, demanding to know the reason for their handsome wand's lack of power. When properly matched, the beech wand is capable of a subtlety and artistry rarely seen in any other wood, hence its lustrous reputation. Blackthorn is a very unusual wandwood, which has a reputation, in my view, well earned, of being best suited to a warrior. This does not necessarily mean that its owner practices the dark arts, although it is undeniable that those who do will enjoy the blackthorn wand's prodigious power. One finds blackthorn wands among aurors, as well as among the denizens of Azkaban. It is a curious feature of the blackthorn bush, which sports wicked thorns, that it produces its sweetest berries after the hardest frosts. And the wands made from this wood appear to need to pass through danger or hardship with their owners to become truly bonded. Given this condition, the blackthorn wand will become as loyal and faithful a servant as one could wish. Black walnut is a handsome wood, but not the easiest to master. It has one pronounced quirk, which is that it is abnormally attuned to inner conflict and loses power dramatically if its possessor practices any form of self-deception. If the witch or wizard is unable or unwilling to be honest with themselves or others, the wand often fails to perform adequately and must be matched with a new owner if it is to regain its former prowess. Paired with a sincere, self-aware owner, however, it becomes one of the most loyal and impressive wands of all, with a particular flair in all kinds of charm work. Cedar has a reputation for being the wood of the noble and the wise. My father, Gervase Ollivander, used always to say, "You will never fool the cedar carrier," and I concur. The cedar wand finds its perfect home, where there is perspicacity and perception. I would go further than my father, however, in saying that I have never yet met the owner of a cedar wand whom I would care to cross, especially if harm is done to those of whom they are fond. The witch or wizard who is well matched with cedar carries the potential to be a frightening adversary, which often comes as a shock to those who have imprudently challenged them. Cherry is a very rare wandwood with strange power, most highly prized by the wizarding students of the school of Mahoutokoro in Japan, where those who own cherry wands have special prestige. The Western wand purchaser should dispel from their minds any notion that the pink blossom of the living tree makes for a frivolous or merely ornamental wand, for cherry wood often makes a wand that possesses truly lethal power. Whatever the core, but if paired with a dragon heartstring, it must be matched with a wizard of exceptional self-control and strength of mind. Alder is the rarest of all wandwoods and has been deeply unlucky in its reputation. The alder wand is trickier to master than any other. It contains powerful magic, but scorns to remain with any owner who is not the superior of his or her company. It takes a remarkable wizard to keep the elder wand for any length of time. The old superstition, wand of elder, never prosper, has its basis in this wand's refusal to be possessed by any but a wizard of uncommon ability. Only a highly unusual person will find their perfect match in elder, and on the rare occasion when such a pairing occurs, I take it as a sign that the witch or wizard in question is marked out for a special destiny. Hawthorn makes a strange, contradictory wand, as full of paradoxes as the tree that gave it birth, whose leaves and blossoms heal, and yet whose cut branches smell of death. Hawthorn wands are complex and intriguing in their nature, just like the owners who suit them best. They are particularly good at healing magic, but they are also adept at curses. I have noticed that the hawthorn wand seems most at home with a witch or wizard of a conflicted nature, or one who is passing through a period of turmoil. Hawthorn is not easy to master, however, and I would think twice about placing a hawthorn wand in the hands of a witch or wizard of unproven character. Holly is another rare and potent wandwood. It has long been considered a protective wood, and it works most happily for those who may need help overcoming a tendency to anger and impetuosity. At the same time, holly wands often choose owners who are engaged in some dangerous and often spiritual quest. Holly is one of those woods that varies most dramatically in performance, depending on the wand core. It is notoriously difficult to combine with phoenix feather, as the wood's volatility conflicts strangely with the phoenix's detachment. In the rare instance where such a pairing finds its match, however, nothing and nobody should stand in their way. Harry Potter's wand was of this rare combination. Vinewood wands are among the less common types, and I have been intrigued to notice that their owners are nearly always those witches or wizards who seek a greater purpose, who have a vision beyond the ordinary, and who frequently astound those who think they know them best. Vine wands seem to be powerfully attracted to personalities with hidden depths, and I have found them more sensitive than any other when it comes to instantly detecting a prospective match. Reliable sources claim that these wands can emit magical effects upon the mere entrance into their presence of a suitable owner. Hermione Granger's wand was made of vine wood. Willow is a healing wood, and I have found that its ideal owner often has some usually unwarranted insecurity, however well they may try to hide it. While my celebrity customers are eager to try willow wands, drawn by their handsome appearance and well-founded reputation for enabling advanced, non-verbal magic, my willow wands have consistently selected those of greatest potential, rather than those who feel they have little to learn. It has been a proverb in my family for a century that he who has furthest to travel will go fastest with Willow. The wand of Lily Potter, a witch of immense magical talent, was made of willow. Yew wands are among the rarer kinds, and their ideal matches are likewise unusual and occasionally notorious. The wand of yew is reputed to endow its possessor with the power of life and death, which might, of course, be said of all wands, and yet yew retains a particularly dark and fearsome reputation in the spheres of dueling and all curses. However, it is untrue to say that the owner of a yew wand is more likely to be attracted to the dark arts than another. The witch or wizard best suited to a yew wand might equally prove a fierce protector of others. Wands hewn from these longest-lived trees have been found in the possession of heroes just as often as of villains. Where wizards have been buried with wands of yew, the wand generally sprouts into a tree guarding the dead owner's grave. Without question, the most infamous yew wand belonged to Lord Voldemort. Ultimately, the spell and the wand are but extensions of the witch or wizard who wields them. Snape's curses show us that even the most brilliant magic can be born from pain, and the intricate lore of wands teaches us that power is never simple. It has character, temperament, and allegiance. A wand is a choice, and it chooses in return, forming a bond that can shape a destiny. The history of the wizarding world is not just a story of great deeds, but of the silent partnership between will and wood, a dance of intent and instrument that continues to write itself in every flash of light.